let's get going. So I think I do want to, I think before we jump into the couple of slides, Erica, maybe you and I can take a minute or so to just talk about like why we are speaking about this topic, I would say, like, specifically. But before that, housekeeping, as you know, the session format, we're doing a little bit of an intro right now. We're going to dive into a couple of slides that we have about the LinkedIn posting best practices, all that in a second. 20 minutes breakout. We've got a couple questions for you guys. We'll send you in a 20-minute breakout room. And then we'll have a discussion after that outside. So that's just, again, session is being recorded. Raise your hand if you have questions. Let's be okay with all of that. And then this is also an opportunity to build your network. So take a look at those LinkedIns in your chat and definitely reach out to people. Open forum, trusted forum, nothing, we're here to just support each other. And then you've also seen links in the chat for the slides and resources from today, breakout session notes, which you also see. Slack community, if you are not part of CS Office Hours Slack community, I highly recommend. And then also LinkedIn group. We're all over the place, let's put it that way. So go connect, because that's good. Okay, all right. So we are here to talk about, LinkedIn best practices, posting, and best, just all things LinkedIn and personal branding. I think that's the piece. I'm going to jump in. I'll tell you a little bit quickly about my story with it, and then I'll let pick up the topic here, and then I'll let Erica jump in after that. So with LinkedIn, something, or I could build a brand through LinkedIn. It wasn't something that I even, if you would have asked me 3 years ago, it's not something that I've even thought about that I could actually do. I stumble across, a bunch of thought leaders, I would say, were just posting and adding their content on LinkedIn to 2020, in pandemic. And that's when I kind of like started to be like, okay, I can also raise my voice. I can also engage, and I can also, reach out. I can also talk about, and it felt so home in a way. What started out from my journey, like what started out to be just a learning opportunity, because I wanted to grow on and learn from other leaders of in the community, turned into a place where I started to, put my voices out there. I've even gotten awards from it, and I mean, there's multiple different things. So it can have such an impact, and which is why we wanted to bring this topic over. Personal branding is not just for you to, find because you want to find a job, or because you want to, I mean, there's multiple different reasons that you can do it. So as we think about it, and I'll let Erica jump in here for a second, but Erica and I kind of thought about this, and I think we both had a different, but in a somewhat similar way, similar sort of journey through LinkedIn and the personal branding and whatnot. So when we were thinking about this, first you want to really understand, like, to understand how do I get started with LinkedIn branding, we really have to niche down onto why. There's why, how, and what. And so why is define your objectives. Why do you want to start brand, personal brand, or why do you want to post on LinkedIn? Why do you want to do, even to post to network and whatnot? What is your objective is going to be the key. The objective, it could be, because I want to land a job, or maybe because I'm looking to grow my network, or maybe I want to get promoted. There could be multiple different reasons, but it's really important that you understand your why. It can't just be because I want to, other people are doing it and I want to do it, or whatever. You really need to know what is your why, basically, right now. Define your unique value propositions. What is that for you to start doing something on LinkedIn? Erica, why don't you share your story, and then maybe you can continue from there.
Yes. Well, my story is very particular. I for the people that don't know me, I am Mexican. Most of my professional career I spent in Mexico. And in 2020, I basically quit my job in the middle of the pandemic, and said I need something different. You know how you start reflecting about the things that you want when you're locked in your room, and I don't know, like you can't leave anywhere, right? So for me, I made the decision that I wanted to move to the US and basically land a role. I didn't think it would be that hard. I had a lot of experience in my previous role. I had been managing teams. I was a co-founder of a startup. But even with that, I was finding it very difficult to land a role that I really wanted. And I thought some of the I don't know, webinars that I attended, someone mentioned something about personal branding, and for me it was like, well, what is that? Like, what does personal branding really mean? So I started getting myself involved, and then, I don't know, joined LinkedIn and found out that LinkedIn was not only a place to look for roles. There was a community in there, and a community where people share their knowledge, share their experiences. And I started following people on LinkedIn, especially on customer success, because I knew that I wanted to progress my career in customer success specifically. And when I started reading about other people's posts, I started to think about the experiences that I've had, and how I can translate all of those experiences into something valuable that my community could learn from. And that's how my journey began. Just decided to start posting my experience from the startup that I was working for before, and that basically led me to put myself out there. At the beginning, I was afraid, of course, like, you never know how people will respond to how you think or what your thought process is, right? But I just put myself out there, got started, and in a couple of months, I started to see traction. I started to connect with more people. That's the reason of how I met Ashna. In fact, Ashna and I have been, I don't know, very close, working, like, I don't know, for the last 3 years. We founded the book club, the Raving Fans Book Club, and I don't know, I've seen a lot of benefits from building my personal brand, whether it's people reaching out to me. People reaching out to me, offering roles because they like my profile, or just because they're seeing what I'm posting out there, that might resonate with some of the roles that are available at different companies, right? And I don't know, it's just been a great experience for me. I think I took a lot out of building my personal brand, a lot more than I could think of, or that I could initially think about, right? So that's why this is one of the topics that I am very passionate about, and that I'm here to share all of my learnings, all of my experiences of how to get started, and how to succeed when trying to build your brand.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. Well, as thank you, Erica, for that. But as we, as you kind of talk about it, like I think the once you have coming back to the topic here, it's like, once you have figured out the why, basically, we were talking about like, how getting into the how is. And I think one of the things that you and I touched on, and it was something that we, also learned earlier, is to get a system in place, because that's going to be the key, is for you to, you really have your process figured out of whether you want to post something and whatnot. But I think even before we touch on that, something that I feel like I've also heard from other people asking about it too, it's like, how do I, just how do I create or do something with my LinkedIn so that it's kind of like it resonates with what you were talking about. And I think that's where once you figure out your why, like, hey, I want to network, and I want to create my personal brand because I want to land a job, or I want to do it because I want to grow my network, or, whatever your whys, whatever your reasons are, let that reflect on your LinkedIn. And then you start to kind of, look and look for those things, whether you look for hashtags, whether you look for, you look for different things that you can follow, and you can learn from that, and start to engage. Then create your system, basically. Okay, I'm going to start with posting about this week. This is going to be my strategy. What am I going to do? So it's like, really get your system in place. You can't just be like, I want to create a brand, and then you have no idea. It's like, how I'm going to, anything to do. What is your process? And I think, and how you're going to achieve it. That's your how. So first, after why, you want to figure out how. Erica, do you want to dive into the what section?
Yes. So before actually diving into the what, on the how, I think one of the things that is very important is to really identify what makes you passionate, right? For example, I don't know, if you follow me, you know that I love talking about customer success in different perspectives. And most of my posts come from my experiences being an enterprise CSM and an individual contributor, things that I've learned from my job. And I can talk about that for hours, like I can just sit down and start writing and start sharing my experiences of my day-to-day work, right? So the first thing that I would recommend is think about what those topics are for you. Like, are you passionate about operations? Are you passionate about, I don't know, helping people land a role? Do you want to share your experiences and struggles on, I don't know, applying for roles and what you've seen during that process? Just clearly identifying what are those topics that you could think and just sit down and say, I could write for hours about this topic, and then start there, right? That's a really great way to get your, I don't know, just brain flowing whenever you start writing. And also think about think about the things that you can share that someone can learn something about, right? Like if you're sharing any experiences of something that was very successful at your company, like for example, Trevor was just sharing at the beginning of this call that he improved a process and something, and his boss was really excited about that. That's something that you can share online, right? So start gathering all of these experiences or things that you're working on, and think about, would someone benefit of knowing what I did or how I did it, or how I was able to achieve this result? And if that's the case, that's something you can write about, right? And now that takes me to the what. That was Ashna's question, right? What do you write about? What to create content around is think your experiences, your day-to-day work, anything that's related to your thought leadership or thought process about a specific process or anything. You can start writing about that. And one of the big important things, and one of the things that I've learned, is that sharing content does not stop there. It's not about just posting and forgetting about what you posted, right? It's actually interacting with the people who are commenting on your posts, making sure that you're adding value in your comments as well, or when people are commenting on it, make sure that you're always interacting and building those relationships, right? Because for me, personal branding is not just about the content I put out there, but also the relationships that I'm building with the people who are interacting with my posts, that eventually lead to, I don't know, one-on-one calls or virtual chats where we can discuss a topic in further depth, right? So I guess just yeah, that would be my definitely advice.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'll take it further from there. Like, because the thing that's like you mentioned already, but that can also be a place where you could get to start to, network and build relationship from there onwards. So that, as you mentioned, like that's how you and I also connected. Just real quick, I feel like I hear some background noise. If everybody could just mute themselves.
I am trying to find, I think I got it. Yeah.
Oh, was it you?
Mute.
Sorry. Didn't.
No, I
Oh,
muted
okay.
someone who
Okay.
had their
Okay.
mic
Sorry,
off.
you could, yeah, raise your hand and unmute if needed, but just wanted to make sure. Okay, so before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of best practices and other things, oh, actually someone did raise a hand. So
Oh,
Lakshmi, let's hear from you.
Hi, I have a question for you, but I want to give a little bit of context of my specific situation before I ask the question. So I was a CSM in India for about 3.5 years before I moved to the US for my MBA, and I worked as a strategy consultant in my very recent role, and I'm actively looking to transition back into an enterprise CSM role. On the question of creating content that adds value to the community, and on the point of sharing your day-to-day learnings, one of the things that holds me back when I think about creating content is there's so many content creators out there who are writing wonderful, including you two guys, but also people like Daphne Lopez. There's so many of them that write such good articles. What can I, as a newcomer, say if I did not have a customer success experience, say I'm transitioning from sales or I don't know, operations to CS, what would that content look like? What are examples of content that would look like? I mean, when you say day-to-day learnings, what do you mean by that? I mean, right now I'm searching for my job, and the most that I'm doing is listening to you guys, talking to people, listening to podcasts. What would you say is an example of a day-to-day learning?
So let me take this one, Ashna, because this is
Yeah, take it.
this is a great question. So Lakshmi, day-to-day learning is not necessarily only has to do with what you learn from your job, right? One thing that I did that worked really well was, for example, if you're listening to podcasts, you can share your learnings from that podcast. If you joined a webinar, you can share your learnings from that webinar. Sometimes I see people post, I don't know, if you read an article, for example, from Daphne, you can put your opinion on that article from her newsletter or whatever, right? What you do is, those topics that really call your attention, you can exploit those topics on your own posts and then start writing your thoughts about that other people's post, or your thoughts about that podcast or anything, right? So that way, people who might not have listened to that podcast get a view on how you thought about what you thought about that podcast, or what you learned from that podcast, right? And in a similar way, you can do that with books. You can do that with, again, webinars, podcasts, any type of resources. Anything you're learning out of those are items and content that you can talk about online, right?
Yeah,
Ashna?
yeah. I wanted you to take this one because I knew you would have so much, because you share a lot of the, your day-to-day learning so much, Erica. So great. But I think to add a couple of things, Lakshmi, for you, I think, everything that Erica mentioned, but also you can even take further. I mean, you mentioned you have sales experience, or like, some other experience, then it becomes a kind of like where you can, not even like stand out, but what you can share is like, can you share that sales experience that resonates or connects and transfers, or like those skills that can transfer into the CS world? And how would you do that? Share that. Okay. So it's more like, okay, that you're bringing the experience that you've had, and then writing something about, whatever, where you want to go and whatnot. So it's not just, and again, to Erica's point, learning happens from everything that's around us, literally. So it's not about what you learn. It's not about like sharing what you learn. It's more about how can you take that and use it into the context, and put it into the context that you're trying to share. And I think that's what it is. So it could just be literally like, Erica, you and I have actually done it too. Maybe we might, even in our personal life examples, might be going to a shop or something, and we've had, some sort of an experience, and I'm going to connect that to customer success and write it. I'm not saying like go and do all of that tomorrow, but I think open your mind into that's all of that can be a possible area where you can put your learnings into words, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
sorry, just to point out that excellent example about the sales experience, right? Like, many CSMs don't have that knowledge on sales, right? Because maybe they were not sellers in the past, and maybe that's something that you can definitely write about, and people who are CSMs would be very interested in, because that sales skills in a CSM role are critical for upsells and expansions, right? So if you can tie that together, create content around that, that would be something that would be very interesting for any CS professionals, right? So that's the way that you add your distinct thoughts, and share your own version of customer success through your own voice. Hopefully
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. And sorry, on the topic, I know Moman and I know Trevor, I want to hear what Trevor has to say too, but another one thing that I would add too, which is you writing your own post is not the only way of doing personal branding, working on personal branding, whatever. Even I'll give you my example. For a whole month when I started on with LinkedIn, content creating, whatever, I was just engaging. For a whole month, I didn't write any of my own posts or whatever. I was just engaging on people's, I would read their stuff. So you give an example of Daphne. Okay, go look at Daphne's post and stuff. Can you comment on it? And then you'll see other people commenting on it, reach out. I mean, that is also a way of creating more content. It'll give you more ideas. It'll give you all those, because that engagement is what matters. I think that's also for you and all the other listeners here. I think that's also another way. It's like, it's not just about you writing something, because I've heard this too. People is like, well, I don't necessarily want to create my own content, but I still want to, work on this engagement. You want to focus on engagement. That's also the power right there. So
Yep.
yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. Trevor, let's hear you.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me. So one of the things is I've been thinking about doing personal branding and stuff for a while, and I've talked to quite a number of people, including many in this group, about it. My problem has been sort of what we're talking about in terms of creating content, but even more than that, it's about like kind of keeping up with it. And so one of the things I've been talking to people about lately is very concretely, what tools, what methodologies you use. Like for instance, obviously the other week we talked about ChatGPT. A lot of people are using that to write posts. How do you stand out? Another thing is, scheduling things. I know there's tools like Buffer where you can, bulk schedule out a content calendar for your LinkedIn or something like that. And then even more broadly, because I know we're going to get into it, networking. I think it was, I forget his name, but one of the guys who hosted the session a week or two ago, he had this big post about like, hey, I haven't talked to anyone in a while. I've gotten thousands of messages. I can't keep up. LinkedIn's messaging thing for the platform's not very good. How do you manage it all, especially once you start to see the results and see the success in terms of keeping up with people? Because we have CMs and CSPs for our work. There's less of those for personal. I found some like Dex, but I haven't met anyone who uses anything yet outside of just their own memory and their own mind in terms of managing all of this. So I just really want concrete examples and concrete tool sets to get this stuff done.
Yeah, Erika, you want to take it? I'll give you this one. I think it kind of blends into our next slide a little bit too, I feel like, and then also some more other stuff. So maybe you want to start with that, I'll add in.
Yes, sure. So let me, hold on. I'm just trying to make sure that, there we go. So Trevor, to answer your question, tools and systems to help me keep up with what I'm posting and my content and my messages and all of that. To be honest, I don't have a perfect system in place. I have something that for me works very well where I can have an Excel spreadsheet with what I think I want to post around over the week and keeping up with it. That's where the system comes into play. Like I normally post in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning before my job starts, because I don't want it conflicting with my work office hours, right? So I post before my day starts, and then at lunch I review my notifications and try to engage with everyone who has engaged on my post and try to reply back and things like that. And at the end of the day, I do the same, right? So I spend, I don't know, 10 minutes at the beginning of the day to create the content that I thought I was going to share about during that day. Lunchtime, 10 to 15 minutes. End of my day, 10 to 15 minutes. And if I have spare time, then I jump in and comment and post, right? LinkedIn messages has been the struggle for me, and I'm sure Ashna can relate to this. Sometimes I get tons of different messages from multiple people, and filtering out messages and people who are wanting to sell me stuff versus people who really want to engage and have something valuable to share, right? Gets a little bit difficult and tricky. I haven't found a tool that can help me manage my LinkedIn messages that I could share, but definitely, like if I find something around that, I'll definitely share that with you. And then the other thing about the scheduling thing, I use LinkedIn scheduling tool, right? There's an option for you to schedule your posts. So if I have my post ready for the next day, I try to schedule it at the end of the day, so it publishes itself in the morning. Or if I have 3 posts for the week or things that I want to talk about, I do those in advance. Many times, and let me say this, like it's not that I have a perfectly well calendar done about things that I want to post about, because I am more of, sometimes I don't have anything to share, right? Sometimes I don't think I have anything of value that really adds value, so I don't share anything. And it doesn't have to be like, oh yes, I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday religiously. It's not necessarily like that, as long as you're consistent. Maybe you're posting Monday and Thursday, and then the next week Monday and Tuesday, or something like that. It doesn't have to have like a really it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as you have a system in place and you can respect those times, so you are engaging and make sure that you're not forgetting to engage with the people who have been commenting on your posts. Not sure if that answers your question.
No, it helps. I mean, like kind of like what you and Ashna were saying, like kind of start small and
Yeah.
you like start to build it out, because that's the thing is like on top of the content, it's like what the heck do I even write about? It's like, what can I write about? Because like I know I had a conversation with, for any of you guys who know Jean-Pierre, and he was telling me about, he tries to take things from his real, work life, but it's not like you can always say absolutely in detail everything that's going on. You have to figure out a smart way to present certain types of information.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I think that's why I would say it's like, going back to your why is really important. Why I'm bringing this up, it's just, I think to Erica's point a little bit too, it's not, you're not just creating content or writing because, well, I got to do it every day because that's, for the, again, yeah, there's certain things, algorithms and all these things are in place, but it's also like, what's your why? Are you doing this, basically like, whatever your reasons are that you're doing it for, then if it's really to grow your network, and then you should be focusing a lot more on engagement. If it's really to land a job, then I think that's the type of content that you should be putting out, and focusing on that and having a system created for that. So it really kind of goes back to your why. But there is one thing I would say, and Erika, you mentioned about the LinkedIn messages, and I think I wanted to just throw that out there before we move on to the next one. But I don't have a good system with LinkedIn messages either. It's like it can get cluttered so easily. Although something that I found, which recently started to use, and I think that people do find, I always get kind of called out for this, is the away message on LinkedIn, which is if you don't know, you can actually set an away message on LinkedIn, and that's been a game changer, because you're just saying, hey, I don't not mean to respond to you. It's just I'm going to be late or delayed or whatever. So just throwing it out there. If you don't know, there is a way to set your away message on LinkedIn, which can be useful to manage some of those things. And then I think even in your away message, you can set expectations to the level of like, hey, I'll reach out to you when you can, and then you can push through those, go through those, schedule some time to go through those. And then maybe the ones that you're like, okay, maybe I want to take this to the next level, or as in a, conversation, whatever, maybe give them your email, whatever that may be, to manage it, where you can actually manage, rather than keeping it in your LinkedIn messages. So that's just a quick advice I would give on that. So
And
I think, yeah, go ahead, Erika.
sorry, Ashna, I just thought about something else, and I think this is important. I think, Trevor, you were referring to Jeremy Donaldson, who was the one that posted that, I don't know, he was away for a while and he had a lot of LinkedIn messages and life happening, and like we all have a lot of things to do, and I get what he was saying, because I suffer it too. Like sometimes I'm out 3 days and then I have like 20 messages on my inbox. Like you can't do everything, that's for sure. You can't do everything, and you don't have to feel bad about not replying to one message, right? You have to be very selective on where you spend your time. If that's a LinkedIn message that you really called your attention, or that you thought was very thoughtful from that person, and reached out asking you about a comment that you posted on someone else's content or something like that, that sparks conversation, I normally always respond to those type of messages. But then there's people who reach out who you don't really need to reply. Like I don't know if this is making sense or not, but you really do have to choose your priorities, and that burnout is something that does happen. So you don't have to reply to every comment, you don't have to reply to every message. You just have to reply to the ones that are the most important, and kind of like learn to filter out what doesn't need you to spend that time on that. And it's just about priorities, like it's very difficult. But I felt bad at the beginning, like, hey, I have these 20 messages that I haven't replied to yet, and then I was like, this is life. Like, I can't reply to everyone every time. I just do my best with the messages that I get and the comments that I get on my posts, and so be it. Like, I am not perfect either, and I'm human, and I also have a life. So you can't spend all of your day on LinkedIn. That's
Yeah.
at least my
And
thoughts.
And the last thing I'll ask about this, and then I'll stop, is do you think that that also then extends to the like content production? Because like that's been sort of my hang up, is I feel like once I start, I have to like not stop.
No, it doesn't have to be that way. And again, I felt this before because I was used to posting 3 times per week, and every time I was creating an infographic or creating a YouTube video, or like things that really took a lot of time from my day, and I realized that I don't have to be that person. You don't have to spend a ton of time on this as long as you're consistent. And if it's once per week or twice per week, that's perfectly fine. What I think about is, and I say this a lot because you don't have to post for the sake of posting, right? Like it's not like, oh, my schedule says that Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when I want to post. It's Wednesday, I have to post something. That's not the way that I do it. It's more of, oh, this is a great experience that I had today that I think my readers would benefit from, and then I post about that. But maybe I don't post for the next week, like. But when you're getting started, it is kind of important to be consistent in a way. You don't have to do it every day, but at least I don't know, start with something, and then you'll start seeing how your brand starts to pick up.
Yeah, yeah. And even if you don't post, engage. I think that's what it is. You want to take
That's it, Ashna.
Yeah. Thank you. Was it Kristen?
You don't have to, you don't have to do an original post every day.
Exactly.
Or even 3 times a week. If you
Mhm.
can get one. And you asked about tools too. Asana and Monday both have templates for marketers usually, right? For content, social content development. So you can start there and build out a schedule that is conducive to your life.
Yeah.
Whatever that means,
Yeah.
and then build from there against other people's content. So the people that you follow, amplify their post. I picked a cause, and everything that I get that crosses my cause, which is all of everybody looking for work. So anytime I see a post, I amplify that post to my network.
I love
And
that.
sometimes I'll do that 100 times a day. Really,
Yeah.
one day I did it like 85 times.
Wow.
And I don't know if that was a good day or a bad day, but so that for me really helped, was to solidify what's my primary posting content going to be about, and then what are the things that I will choose to just amplify.
Yeah. That's a great advice. And I think that's what I'm kind of highlighting. I think I don't need to go through this. I think we've been talking about best practices and strategy here too, but it's like to your point, it's like it needs to amplify. And even my own example here, I started to talk, and again, like it, just because you start to talk about something doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just stick to that forever. It can evolve, like your content can evolve, your mindset can evolve, like what you share and whatever, all that can evolve. I started with CSM related stuff, then I moved into posting about leadership, and then I post about coaching and growth and learning and whatever. But that's my why, because I like to give back, I like to support people, I like to empower people. That's just me and who I am. So anytime I find something like that, I post about it, whether in my life or other things or whatever. But to your point, it's get a system. Your process is needed, because then you can just be prepared. So it's like, even when on the weekend you figure it out, or be like, okay, I'm gonna try to post at least a couple times this week. If something happens, or something happens and you post about it, it's just have that little system created for yourself, so then you're not just struggling, and you can have a place where you can, or maybe you can have something like, I've done this. I used Trello in the past, when I would, like, if I find something cool, I'll just post it and I'll just add it there. Hey, I can use this for a post or something. And then next time I can open up, like, okay, I want to pick this out and I want to post about that or something. So it still resonates with what I'm trying to do. It comes back to my why. But it's, at least I had some sort of a system created for myself. And then I focused so much on engagement, which really helped afterwards. So yeah, that's all right. Awesome. Okay. I know we've had a great conversation, so I do want to move on to the breakouts. If Marianne, if you can post the breakout notes once again in the chat, that would be great. And I can put everyone out in the breakout room. But before we go there, anybody has any questions? But here, any questions? And here are the breakout session questions. that we're going to ask is, have you started building your brand? If not, what is holding you back? And I think, Trevor, you're going to have a lot to
Nailed
talk
it.
about. Definitely. You nailed it. You basically nailed the question that we had. But
Before even knowing the question.
exactly. And then in the second question is, if you were to start building your brand today, what are the top 2 topics that you would love to talk about? How does it resonate with your why? So let's, it's just a little open conversation. And it like I said, it doesn't have to be just about customer success. It could be somewhat related to it and whatnot. It's just, let's have those questions to break out. Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Hi.
Awesome. We got a good crowd today. I'm very, very proud of you guys. Okay, so it is at a time, but if you all want to stay a little longer, definitely want to hear from you. I guess, who wants to share? I mean, it was more of a personal sort of a, individual question. So it's not about like kind of just grouping, but maybe if someone wants to share about who's starting to post, starting to engage, or about brands or any questions. Kevin, let's hear from you.
I'll kind of share like my content strategy for when I was writing a lot for LinkedIn and then also for CS Insider. I tried to look for the CS and everything. So I would even take things a step further as far as like, okay, take a look at current events or current experiences that I had and how would I CSify it. One example of an article that I had that went viral was how would I CS Disneyland? Like how would I make sure to ensure that everybody has a magical time no matter what? So like, what are some of the things that you could leverage as far as the app that they have? What are some of the best practices? Go at rope drop. Make sure you hit the big rides before everybody else, before those lines get 3 hours long. So like, yeah, looking for the customer success in everything kind of opens up your perspective and you start to learn new things about how you approach customer success. Yeah,
that's a great strategy, Kevin. Thank you for sharing. And I think that's what it is. It's gonna help you to post, but it's also gonna help you to your creative thinking, your strategic thinking, even for you at work. I mean, that's what it's gonna help you. So it's I think that's also something I want to mention. It's like creating content and not just gonna help you with you just building a content or networking, whatever. It will help you at work or in other things in life too. And I'll give you my personal example. Creating content and going on webinars and other things, it also helped me with presentation skills, communication skills, being able to talk to executives and all these other things that I didn't maybe I was good at, but maybe I wasn't so great at it. And it just helped me work on that because it helped me, okay, it became easy for me to reach out to people, to network. It became easy for me to find, how else can I, change these conversations, or what sort of discovery questions I can ask. So there are other benefits to it too, which will come, depends on what you share content, create your strategy, and do all that. So look out for all that too. And then you get to share about that, so it's an ongoing loop. You learn and then you do something and you share, and then, well, voila, you're an influencer. All right, awesome. Anyone else wants to share what happened? Anybody starting to work on their brand or have any questions?
Christine, in our group, you took lots of good notes of everything we said.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. Good group. Everyone talked about some really awesome stuff when it came to like Adeline and us and Sarah and Jillian. Really great when they talked about strategy and customer success for Jillian, and also with Adeline talking about resources and the customer success journey. And wanting to share that when it comes to education and transition. Sarah, she also talked about, working for a startup and how she wants to be able to leverage her knowledge base in customer success with startups and, best practices. And myself talking about customer success and sales and really wanting to bridge that gap coming from a sales background. But in the meantime, I'm starting off as being a contributor. I just like being like adding my 2 cents in somewhere. And when I graduate from adding my 2 cents, then I'll add my quarter.
I love that.
And take it from there. But
Yeah.
Thanks for the shout out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's great. And I think that's how you start. And I love that analogy, 2 cents and then a quarter. I love it. You're gonna make $1 pretty soon.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's the goal. That's the goal. I get it. Anyone else?
I think our group had some good stuff, especially with talking to Bern and Rick. Bern was basically saying, when it comes to, talking about this or posting about this, I had shared, I'm fairly new to the CSM role, and that's part of the reason why I'm not really sure what to talk about. And they were like, well, you got to realize, like, this role has essentially existed for the past couple of decades. Like, it's not like it's anything new. And it's not like it starts and stops with the CS team. Like, there's a lot of different things it touches. And for Rick, and I'll let him speak on it if he feels like it, but he was talking about, he struggles because he's more technical and, less about, the front facing centric interaction. But to what I was telling him from what some of my mentors told me is, well, that actually helps a lot, because then you can explain things better, you can talk to other teams better, you can kind of start to bridge the gap between a lot of different people if you understand the deeper level of things.
You're so right. You're right there. You're on dot. Thank you. Awesome. I know we are a little bit over time, and I think I just quickly shared that. I'm going to share that again once more. I know some of the people are leaving, but you have the slide deck, and we've added some resources and a lot around that can help you with the personal brand. And there's a podcast that Erika had done with Maria at Women in Customer Success podcast, and on how to build your personal brand. I've done something recently about crafting your online presence and customer success, and there's I think this particular one, this last one, System for Building Personal Brand, was something that Eric and I came across recently, which had pretty good outline. There's some resources here that you can take advantage of to even maybe help you within getting started or give you some ideas and whatnot. So you guys have that. And one last ask that I have is, before we kind of say goodbye, and I'd love to hear final words from Erika here in a second, but one ask is, you guys probably receive Luma invites and stuff too. If you enjoy sessions, give us feedback. We always love to hear, even if it's, you can do stars or write something in it. We'd just love to hear that we're helping you in some way and supporting everyone here, or if there's something else that you'd like to learn. So yeah, feedback, as we know, in customer success is a gift, as Erika mentioned. So yeah, if you can, that'd be great. And also another main thing, and this is an advice for content strategy, you can also talk about this session on your LinkedIn as a strategy, and tag people and do that. I mean, that could also be a start, which so many of us have done it too. So that's my 2 cents. Erika, anything to wrap us up?
Yes. To wrap us up, main key takeaway: get started. Just do it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. If you are still having second doubts, I can tell you it is going to be very much worth it. You just gotta get started and get going.
Yeah. Thank you,
and be
Erika.
patient. A lot of patience. That's also very much needed.
Yeah, 100%, because it's not going to happen overnight, but you will start to see the impact of it. And then to continue this, and Marianne, I'm going to say this, but I think we're continuing into networking conversation next Tuesday, right? So in a way of like, you're building brand and personal brand and engaging and whatnot. And now let's take it further with networking, and Marianne with, I don't know who else is on it, but I'm just going to speak.
Mohammed will be joining, and Sandy as well. Sandy.
Yes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
With us. So yeah, we have a good session next week too.
Yeah, join that one too, because we're going to continue on some of this from there onward. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on another CS Office Hour.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Success Hour, formerly known as CS Office Hours. We regularly put out new content, so to be the first to know, like this episode, tap that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you soon.